Remember that they're changing my voice. I'm sure by now people understand that America is a modern day slave system where basically everyone knows that they're trying to forge a new world order and a more integrated system using technology, psychology, and substances, materials, and drugs for control. Because I was interrupted, I had to move to my car. Remember, at this point at least, I have documented evidence that they're sabotaging me, and also there's 22 witnesses on record to the various aspects of the gang stalking campaign against me. So I've proven it definitively. Let's look at the timeline from about 2009 when I started making videos. August 2009. At that time, I was 27. Okay. And I started making my videos about the greater conspiracy in society, how things actually work. And no serious scholar could say that I didn't do a good job in terms of making it clear that things are drastically controlled by corporations and the various groups they have, social clubs, what have you. Okay. So in 2010, I go back to college, University of Phoenix, and at that time, okay, I was 28 years old. I had been researching for my video series since I was 27, and at 28, I go back to University of Phoenix. During 2011 in February, I was being very much persecuted by the government. It was very obvious. Certain events had taken place, and they were also sabotaging my studies. Over time, it became very apparent that I was being covertly drugged at the time, and it was crystal clear. The evidence was there. In 2012, okay, at the Fremont campus, it was obvious that I was being persecuted by the government and even some of the University of Phoenix staff. Okay, it was made clear by 2012. By 2013, I think around that time, it was 2013, 2014, I started doing the computer classes. And since they were interfering with my studies, I wasn't really going the distance to learn things, but I was passing nonetheless. So in around 2015, because of all the sabotage, I graduated. Okay. During those years, I was, staying with my parents instead of living on my own. So I'm saving thousands and thousands of dollars. So when you compare my plan and my life journey to others, you see that it is drastically superior to others. Others basically conformed and leveraged their privilege and their willingness to turn a blind eye to evil and to be part of evil. And they get their corporate jobs, and we'll get into that. Okay. After I graduate, right, this part is very key here. I want you to really consider this. So I graduated in 2015, maybe in the middle of the year or something. In 2017, okay, in the beginning of the year, toward the beginning of the year, I was blinded. So less than 2 years, a little less than 2 years after graduating college, they blinded me temporarily after sabotaging me the whole time and fuming me and poisoning me, okay, because I was doing what was right. Okay, so before that, I had made a solid decision to expose the evils of the world instead of be a part of the corporate evil of the world. You can see back in my Illuminati part 1, in 2009. Again, I did a factual presentation. I presented the facts and reading between the lines and not some crazy conspiracy theory. So the Illuminati was a term for basically, the most influential members of the governing class. That's all that is. The way I described it, other people have different views and there are all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories. I did a fact-based presentation. Okay, and I did a great job, and I connected it to street gangs and all kinds of government activities and so on and so forth that were acknowledged by historians and what have you. Okay. So, I knew that I had made a decision back then that it was going to cause me to have some doors shut on me. I didn't think that they were going to persecute me, to the extreme, but I felt that, my life's going to be a little harder when the white racists in society catch wind that I'm pointing out that Egypt was black. I'm pointing out that psychiatry is a fraud. I'm pointing out things in my early years of the series that make it clear that, all the anal people in society are going to be wanting to see me fall. And they're going to kind of lightweight collaborate. All the racist cops, kind of what you expect, By 2012, it was crystal clear that they were persecuting me for my political views, to the point where I started making a series of martial art challenges to bring attention to that and to bring attention to the skill that I was doing, because I was doing martial arts while they're sabotaging me as well. In 2013, December 20th, I make my top martial arts challenge, and I point out that I'm being persecuted for my political views. I was part of the challenge. I said I'm the top martial artist, and I'm being persecuted for my political views. Okay, and even though I'm being persecuted, and this is a serious challenge, you have nothing to fear, sportsmanlike conduct would be applied, things of this nature, okay? So I know I don't sound perfect in this video, so let me just wrap this up. Since 2009, I have saved over $250,000 in rent money, plus utilities. Again, keep in mind, females are fair weather females. Okay, so to some degree, I would have been living on my own by myself because I was having trouble getting a suitable helper, a worthwhile girlfriend. So I saved myself tons of money in rent, and if I had settled instead, I might have saved some money on rent, but I might have gotten an unattractive female pregnant, and she chose to have the baby, child support, or raising a baby that I don't want to have in a family I don't want to have. A lot of people fall into that trap. So, assuming that I would have lived by myself and I would have hardly had any financial assistance from the people I was dating, which is a pretty logical assumption. Most of them did not have that much money, and they weren't dating me for that long. I saved well over $250,000 since 2009, assuming the rent would be about $1,500, and me living in San Jose. Okay, that is a lot of money. And people whore themselves for that, just to live on their own, and then buy a house. And people they pay $5,000 for their lease or whatever, their mortgage or whatever it's called, and that's $5,000 a month. So they work their way up from $1,000, $1,500, back in the day, to a $5,000 mortgage, and they're in debt, and they have a family they don't want to have. Okay, and a lot of these people, their wives are sleeping around, sleeping with their bosses, behind their backs. And fair weather people, they conform to the principles of Satanism in a modern slave system. So yes, my life is vastly superior to theirs before we even bring up the martial art challenge, before we even bring up, my loyalty to God and the Christ argument. Okay, now also keep in mind that I was helping my parents during this time, this whole time. They're older people. My brothers were kind of, in the other places in the Bay Area. They weren't helping out. I was the one here helping them carry groceries, lift heavy things, what have you. And they live out in the middle of nowhere. You see what I'm saying? So and they have a company they're trying to get off the ground that has a cure for malaria and some forms of cancer and so on and so forth. So I had a very noble life, while other people conformed to evil and chose fair weather sluts who have betrayed me, and their families have betrayed me as well. And many of them have participated in harassing me directly. So again, I remind you of the Justice Department statistics, several million cases of, it's like 5 million cases or something of, I forgot what it was, I used to know off the top of my head, of stalking a year, and around 1 million cases of group stalking a year. Combine that with the 22 witnesses and the fact that everyone knows that gang stalking is real. Okay, they just, don't want to get in trouble by reporting something that has to do with intelligence agency activities, the military, what have you. Okay, it is clear cut, and obviously so, that I have lived a superior life to other people. Now let's look at the age. Okay, say I was somebody else and I did it their way. Okay, now they would be 41. I'm 41. Okay, they would be 41 years old. The best years of their life would be gone. having wasted tons of money and contributed to the infrastructure of this country, this evil country, and every country's evil. Look at the Bible, it makes it clear. Okay? All the nations are punished in Revelations. All the nations surround, the protagonist of the Bible, one of the protagonists in Psalm 118, and Jesus quotes it, and so on and so forth. Okay? They would have contributed to this evil world, had a fair weather chick, had a dead-end job, being a modern-day slave. They would have kept their mouth shut. They would have been complicit with all this evil, and for what? To have some kind of, rickety old house where they pay $5,000 mortgage every month. You know what I'm saying? Some wife who's now 40 years old, not as attractive as she used to be, having to conform to the LGBT cultures, or else being blacklisted. As they say, go to the gay disco, okay? Or you'll be out in the cold. And what do they have to look forward to? In a mere couple years, a mere 4 years, they'll be 45. In a mere 9 years, they'll be 50 years old. When you're 50 years old, your life is basically done. You're like an old skeleton walking around like, yeah, it's done. And if you work out and hook yourself to the machine or whatever these people do, take whatever drugs and products they take, you're a 50-year-old person trying to look 30 or 25. And that's just pathetic. So obviously the sane person looks at my life and says, that is a model life. Not this garbage, laissez-faire, bootlicking coward, dating a fair-weather, gender-neutral slut garbage that other people have fallen for. Think about it.